Welcome to the Voice Crafter podcast. My name is Ken Koren and I am the Voice Crafter. We are going to talk everything presentation skills. We're going to break down fears, break down any kind of apprehensions about presenting because it's one of the biggest fears in the world right after spiders, something like that. But it is something that is very important in a lot of business. In our business, I work in advertising and the creative department, and I've got one of my longtime buddies, longtime partners, Ron Villacarillo here, creative director. Go ahead and introduce yourself there, Ron.
Hey, everybody, the voice crafter world. My name is Ron Villacarillo. I had an extensive career as a creative and advertising, art direction background, and I've been art director and creative director, bounced coast to coast, New York, LA, boomerang back. I'm in Richmond, Virginia now, and about 20 years experience of working on everything from underwear to beer, video games to finance, everything. I've kind
And back to underwear.
of, yeah, it always comes back
You
to
started
underwear.
in underwear.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
My roots are in underwear,
in underwear.
but yeah, I just I'm art guy, creative guy. Love disrupting, love
Yeah,
selling work, and the presenting part is It's I don't
yeah.
know if you love to do it, if you hate to do it. It's a weird thing.
It comes with the job. You can't. You just have to do it. You have to be able to sell your ideas, and that doesn't just mean in front of clients and in front of a big boardroom. It means like face to face. Like if Ron and I were partners, and if he had an idea, he had to sell it to me, and come from a place of passion. It's not just about being loud and being like real confident and speaking a certain way with a certain timbre. It's just about connecting. It's kind of like acting. It's sort of connecting to your passion. And when we go to work every day, we have to sell whatever this thing is, and we have to be passionate and confident about it. So I've heard you present. I think you're great. I think you bring your personality. But has there been a moment ever, or what was your last presentation like? Why don't you walk me through that and how it felt?
Yeah, I think the one that comes to mind recently was the agency I've most recently worked for. It's a small agency, and so this is a good. I think this went well, in my opinion. We're in a conference room. It's in person, full of the client, and you have the account people and the creatives and the whole kabang. There was probably about 10 of us in a room, and it was a video presentation, and this was it. We were there just presenting the campaign idea. We had some spec work to show, and the cool thing was this was a small local client, so it wasn't like big corporate kind of. You have CMOs and their lemmings and things like that. So it was a little bit of half education, half presenting good work, like letting them know what good work is, and then showing them the good work that they could do. But I thought the flow was very good. I mean, there's a lot of visuals, but I thought the leading up to the big idea and why they should be doing what they should be doing was really, I think it was a combo of the visuals, of the actual structure of the presentation, and the way it was delivered.
Did you feel conversational much, or did you feel kind of? And this was a Zoom call to be clear, right?
Oh no, this was actually in person.
Oh, hell yeah.
This was an
Okay.
in-person one. Yeah, so it was like clients were across the table. We're on this long conference,
Oh, old
classic
school.
room. There's a monitor up there, and I could reach over and touch him if I wanted to. It was that.
Yeah, which is you probably don't want to.
You could smell the
Um,
cologne they were wearing. Yeah.
oh, really? Well, man, well that's good. Did you have any kind of nerves about like making eye contact? Did you ever feel like I'm talking? Oh, I looked at him, and it sort of takes you out of the game a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think if you're ever in a situation where you're talking to a monitor, maybe if you're controlling it from your laptop, and then they're right there. There is a game of, oh, should I just ditch all of that and just speak, look at them directly, and really intimately make eye contact, or am I passionate in the work, looking at the thing I'm doing? So I think it becomes a little bit of a safety thing these days with like some of the laptops and things like that. But they were right there, and I think that it was it might be if I was wearing contacts or not, because I like seeing like blurry vision of my clients, not like, oh my gosh, I can I'm looking to the depths of their souls, and they're doing the same things to me.
Yeah.
But I kind of like I do this thing where I don't look right at them, because that'll drive you crazy. I kind of just look like at their right ear or they're like a piece of hair on their forehead, and I'll just talk that way.
Sure. I mean, that's one way to do it, but I can help you with making the eye contact because it's yeah, it should be like you it should be like talking to each other. You're like really talking to that person. So if there's five heads, you just sort of split it up. You speak to one person for a little bit. Now I'm going to switch over here, and I'm going to take. And I always used to like breathe into each one and just sort of pause and just really deliver them like one person at a time. Here's a couple sentences for you. Here's a couple sentences for you. Breathe.
Yeah.
Here's a couple sentences for you. No one's ever like, he's not talking, he's not talking, he's not talking. We feel like we have to talk. And I think one of the things you mentioned was, yeah, sometimes you have a great energy and you do tend to talk fast. I don't think it works against you, but it may make you feel a little jumpy. So getting some of those breaths in between there and actually just thinking like there's a period here at this sentence. Boom, let me reset. And let me look at Sheila over here, and let me look at Johnny over here. You know what I mean? You just sort of,
Yeah.
and those you are still talking to them. I think a lot of people will, when they talk to a group of people, they're like, it's just a blob of people. I'm gonna just sort of graze over them and hope for the best. Whereas, you may need, and sometimes that's okay. I've done that as well, but sometimes you really, like in an interview or something. I've been on interviews with three people on a Zoom call, and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with eye contact here? But I do just sort of like, I guess that one's really hard because how do you,
Oh yeah. Where do
how,
you where do you look
what do
there?
you
Yeah.
do? Yeah. And, but I'm glad that you used an example of being in person because I'd love to hear more and more of those. So
Yeah.
what I'm going to do is give you a couple examples. Is use your product as a way of. I just want to hear you describe the product I asked you to bring, and you're really just talking about it like if it's the color white, it's the color white. It's got some holes in here, and it looks like it moves around. And ultimately, tell me what it is. But just take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and try to keep it like whatever you think feels like a minute in your mind.
Hmm.
And that's the tricky part. And just go, and I'll just give you a three, two, one. And when you're ready,
I
just
missed
make
it. I
sure.
didn't cut out for the first part of what you said. Can you say that again? I think you might have cut out a little bit.
Oh, really? Sorry.
That's okay.
The Yeah, just hold the product up and just describe it like its physical presence and just
Okay.
anything however you want to describe it. But
Sure.
you're just describing it like a cup of water, some ice in here, it keeps me refreshed, like
Okay.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But let's just see what happens.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And I'll just give you the old voice crafter three, two,
Yeah.
one, three, two, one.
Yeah. So this product is I guess you would call it a sleep machine. And it's it's about the size, a little bit bigger than a softball probably, but you plug this in. It's an electronic device you put next to your bed or in your bedroom. And so what it does is it adjusts and it emotes. It puts out a sound like a white noise or like a humming sound, similar to a fan. I know there are a lot of people that sleep with fans. Maybe sometimes in the winter the fan's not the best thing to use. You want it, but you still want to have that sound. I think it's related to like what you were like as a baby in the womb. And honestly, I've never used this. My wife it uses this. She's a fan sleeper, and I never was, and so I had to adapt to it because she does. And I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. Like I can sleep in silence, but she likes this, and I've actually kind of come to enjoy it. It's by a company called Dome. This is the Dome. Dome.
Yep.
It says here it's the National. Oh, this is interesting. It's the National Sleep Foundation. So that's legit. I mean, am I right? Yeah, and it has a couple sound. It's just a little electronic device. It looks like it's beige. It has it twists and turns for the amount of noise or hush you should hear. And yeah, that's the sleep machine from Dome.
All right. That was great. I love that you ended on the brand name. From Dome.
Should have threw a tagline in there or something.
It should say for fan sleepers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Fans of sleep.
Yeah, fans of.
Ooh,
Hey, we're on
ooh.
to something. Should we put some stuff on the
Let me
wall?
write this down.
Yeah,
Okay.
let me put some stuff on the wall. Um, for fans of sleep. Hey, so that was great. There was now normally when I do this in front of a group, I'll open it up to the floor and I say, what do we like? What do we remember? And so since I am it, I'll say like what I remembered was because you had an organic moment was oh it has some sort of sleep group or what was it some sleep
Oh yeah,
organization.
it was endorsed by the National Sleep Foundation.
The National Sleep Foundation, like that's a piece of information that came to you as a surprise, right? Did you sort of feel
Yeah, I
like
didn't know that. I was just
you didn't know
literally
that?
read it off the. That's the first time I ever saw that on on the machine.
So it's almost like as if you were just if you delivered like almost every description, not like that, but sort of with that feeling of like, oh look, and there's definitely times when your voice was kind of like, and it's white and it turns around, oh look, you know, I think those oh look moments can be more frequent so that it seems like you're sort of discovering in the moment. That keeps people interested because they're like, "Oh, did I miss something? Oh, wait, what?" You know what I mean? Did
Yeah.
I cuz listen, we are up against the most distractions we've ever faced in the world. Like when we were kids, like it was hard to pay attention and we didn't even have like what would we have a calculator to mess with? Like we just scribbled on our books.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. Now I'm not really sure but how classes work, but you're competing against a lot of distractions, so it has to be really organic. And this is really about you feeling comfortable. Yes, when you feel comfortable, yes, you are going to have a better impact. But so many people get like physically sick doing this. They It keeps them up. They're in their head. They might have a moment while presenting that takes them out of it.
Yeah.
And those are really like tough anxiety inducing feelings. And so I know like sometimes the difference between a great presentation and a great creative, like making their mark is how they come across. And that's just it. So now
Yeah.
I'm going to, before I impart my simple 4-step B's of presentation. I'm not going to unveil that yet, but now I want you to take like not too much time, but enough time to say, what does this make me feel? What story does this invoke? Is there a story? And you don't have to say dome makes me feel like. We could just say this item reminds me of the time. Like this could be like this reminds me of the
Yeah.
time where I wrote a TV pilot in a coffee shop. And tell me about what was going on. And just do your best to try and really see that time and space. And it's not about like selling the thing. It's just I just want you to be as much in the moment because if you see it, I said this before on the podcast, if you see it and you believe it, we see it and we believe it. That's an old improv teacher taught me that. And that's because in improv, you're just like opening a cupboard and here's a ceramic bowl and it's got a dinosaur on it, chasing a raptor, and a spoon,
Sure.
with a pterodactyl on the end of it. If I see all that, it's gonna elicit more than normal. A lot of times we just try to get through it, just
Yeah.
talk. Don't say and be as loud as and project, right? But
Yeah.
so, and how did that feel when you were describing that thing?
Yeah.
Was it feel
I'll
kind of
say,
awkward?
um, yeah, absolutely awkward because of the nature of it as a household item. But and I just grabbed it, But like I do, but the feeling, like I think you asked me to describe like a feeling that it evokes or something like that, and something that
Yeah.
comes to mind when I'm thinking about this. It's a sleep machine noise thing. I mean, it's nothing new. I mean, we sleep to like tropical water or whatever it is, but I think it does. It kind of puts you in that place of meditation. I'm not a meditation guy, but I think there's moments where we all have these meditative moments, which this provides. to you at some point of the day or night or the evening when you're just with yourself, and I think it's really important for us all to kind of you could be driving, you can be in the office, or you can be at the gym, but having those moments where you're really in tune with yourself, but you're pretty relaxed. Like it's a weird different kind of confidence, and I think that's what this kind of feels like, and that's pretty special if we can all do that. And I think a lot of folks, they think of meditation, or they think of finding your zen, or your place, your chi, or whatever it is. And you don't have to go to like a yoga place for an hour or whatever. You can kind of find those little moments and little bits here and there.
Okay, that was great, Ron. What I always say, what I would like to see is, for some reason everybody does this. It's mostly the advertising people. I say do a story, and they're like try to sell me on a feeling. But what I want to hear is it's fine. I mean, there were some great moments. There was like a beginning, middle, and end. You presented it.
I was selling you on a feel. I was trying to sell it to you.
You're trying to sell it to me. But now I want you to tell me the story. It's like, this reminds me of the time. For instance, I'm just giving you like an example of sort of what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm in a coffee shop in Fort Greene, and it's packed. I'm shoulder to shoulder with people. Everyone's got a laptop, and I'm looking around thinking, I bet everybody's writing a screenplay and a script or something. And it turns out everybody is. But I gotta, I gotta do this. I gotta write this thing called This Is Chip, which was about my advertising life. And I always had made sure I had at least 2 or 3 coffees going, and I wrote it on final draft. And at the end of the day, I had this thing that I actually went, and I didn't think I was going to go shoot it, but like something like that.
Okay, cool. I think I got it. Yeah.
I sort of went back there a little bit, sort of just like let yourself go to that feeling. Now I'm going to implement the B of the B's, and that's body. I want you to breathe through your nose, out through your mouth twice before you speak. 5 and 5. So 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 5 out. And you could keep going until you're ready, until you have that story. And this is the story of Ron, and whatever if this thing reminds you of a thunderstorm, or it reminds you of I'm just trying to like remind you of a car crash, whatever it reminds you of. It doesn't have to be meditation. It can remind you of like anything. So
yeah.
So just take that time, do those breaths, and these are breaths that really we should all do. I just did one, and I just feel a little more grounded. But we just talk, and we don't really breathe into our voice. Do you know what I'm saying? So it just gets a little more relaxed. So just do the 5 in through the nose, 5 out the mouth, 5 in through the nose, 5 out the mouth. And you can do that until you're ready to speak. And when you speak, exhale. So you breathe in, and you're like, hello, my name is Ron.
So this really reminds me of something pretty personal. I think it was, well, I know when it was. It was almost exactly 2 years ago last month. My son was born, and he wasn't born in the conventional way. It was a home birth, but it was an unexpected home birth. My wife, he was ready to come, and he came in our bedroom. So we had just, went through all the breathing things and had all the signs, and we had the go bag to the hospital. He didn't want to have it that way. He was going to come here right now, and ambulance was on its way and things like that. But I'll spare you the all of the details of the birth. But it was the moment when I was holding my son, and I think it was this. If you think about the most precious, fragile thing in the world, it'd probably be a newborn baby or something that could break, And I think as a new father, you always feel like you're gonna do that, but for some reason that didn't happen. I felt so within myself and in the moment, and literally the ambulance was outside, and they were wheelchairing my wife into the ambulance, and we're going to the hospital, to do all the rest of the stuff, and I was literally I have ring footage on my Ring camera of me outside on the porch, just holding a child just minutes old, and I had to go down some stairs, and I had to go into the. But when I look at that video, I see it, and I'm like, wow, like I can be an anxious person at times, and that was totally opposite. And I witnessed it. I saw myself literally on the video. Just sort of acting this way. And I think it's just this human nature, this parental thing that takes over you that really kind of kicked in. And I was, it makes me want to cry. Like
Yeah,
it
me
was really
too, man.
special. It was really special.
Hey, as far as presentation, that was absolutely beautiful. Did you feel the difference between this one and the first one?
Absolutely.
What
Yeah.
was the biggest difference?
Well, it was coming from a place that I separated myself from the room or what the product was or what I was trying to do. And, it was personal. And so I think it came out more natural. And there's some, yeah, I say it was that if you can have a personal moment, I think others are going to feel that. I think they're going to understand that. I mean, we see it all the time. You know it right away when someone's getting, um, you know, talking about a personal thing. But it could end up relating to, um, what you're trying to persuade them or really prove or, um, yeah, just sort of get them on board with what you believe in.
Yeah, and you don't even have to conjure anything up. You don't have to you don't have to like produce it. It's there already. And if you can use that feeling to sell a meditation device or an idea about that product, you're going to win because you slowed down. It was really easy to follow. It was sort of moment to moment. You didn't have to tell us the details. You That was enough. You could see it in your face. You had a moment where you about to get choked up a little bit. And why was
Sure.
that? Because you saw it, right? Because
Yeah,
you took
yeah,
yourself there.
and I think when I don't tell that story every day, but I think
Right.
when because you save it for the special moments and the times where you do have to kind of tell that story. So I think that's where the emotion, it's real, it's visceral, it's real. Yeah,
Yeah. So you did, without me really over explaining it, you did step two of what is the B's, which is the B is body, E is do you have an emotion, E are you an expert? Of course you're an expert because you witnessed it, and S are you telling a story? And yes, that is a story. So you could start your presentation with some sort of story like that that's buttoned up. You could write that
hmm
and lead into your pitch. Or if you need, you're like, say you've pitched something 10 times and you're at your 11th time and you're like, how the hell am I going to get this feeling? You have that in your back pocket. And we kind of create an arsenal of emotional stories we can draw from, whether it's exuberance or melancholy or heartfelt or it can be anything.
yeah,
So you sort of, I like to help people kind of to get in touch with that emotion because it's real, you know. So
absolutely.
now I'm going to throw a curveball at you, and the truff item. I want to bring the truff item back. So
Okay, yeah.
Ron has a second item, and you were more comfortable with the other one. You're going to describe this, but you're going to go right into the. Let's see. Do I want you to go start with the story? I want you to start with the story and then describe it and why, and tell me why I should try it. But I want you to start with a story that it really elicits. And sometimes I give people an emotion. I'll like write it down in the chat or I'll give them a piece of paper and I'll say, but I think I want you to I think you can dial up your own emotion because it's your story. And so when you have that word, I want you to just sort of breathe into that word. Think about that word and be like, if it's static, what does a static mean to you? And just keep it real. But the story that you have in mind should give you the feeling, and then let the feeling fuel the story. Does that make sense, or did I just confuse it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get into. Yeah, I'm not gonna go right into describing it. I'm gonna talk about. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think I get it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
tell the
walk,
story, and
walk
you could.
as it kind of.
Yeah, and for intents purposes of this exercise, it's just Truff makes me feel, reminds me of blank. And then when you're done with that story, and that's why you should try Truff, or and that's why this.
Yeah.
You'll
Okay.
feel when to do it. I just want to sort of put
Sure.
a story with an item that you're trying to sell, just to
Yeah. Yeah. No,
see.
I get it. Yeah. I think I get that. Yeah. So I might totally fuck
Yeah.
this up, but like,
And
let's.
remember the other thing, you're an expert, and this is a story. People are gathering around to listen to Ron's story.
Mhm.
Every time you present, it's Ron's story.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
whenever you're
So
ready, do some of those breaths I told you about,
yeah.
5 in, 5 out, and see how it goes.
So I think we're all. I mean, we all love food in our own way, and I think we all have our favorite foods. I mean, that could be anything. But I think there's moments in time where we go somewhere and we've had the best food in our lives. Like we kind of like this is it, and you can't stop talking about it. And I think it's, um, you enjoy it, and it's so decadent, and you don't know why, but you have a feeling because this food is making you feel a particular way. Like I think it's food is nourishment, but we all know that there's all kind of psychology behind food, and I think the reason we love that dinner or that time you're in Italy and had that pasta or you had the best steak in your life, you know, in New York 2 weeks ago visiting a friend, you're going to tell those stories. You're going to tell people about it, and I think that's what is pretty special about a flavor. Flavor profiles of what you're having, textures, and I think this is what this product, this is what Truff I think really does. I think you add a little bit of this to anything, it elevates it, and it kind of gives you that kind of luxury or fine dining or experience, and you can do it anywhere. I mean, this thing is it's very affordable. It's truffle oil, yes, but it's a complex flavor, but it's not a complex price. So, but I do love that. That's kind of what it does. That it adds that moment in time. Because you have a favorite food, and you can probably tell me now, and you remember that time and that dinner, or that item you had, and you kind of when we have our favorite foods, you really can't stop. You want it again. You can't stop thinking about it. Well, you can have it again and again with truff. God,
How many
that's
times
like
does it
that was
say?
a
How many?
total infomercial.
Yeah, no, it's great. And
You gotta get the product
does it
placement.
say how many meals I get out of that?
Well, you
Truff.
you could have you could do it over and over
Yeah.
for
Um,
38 times. For 30,
listen,
well, if you call now.
listen. That was a good presentation. I got to ask you. There was the story.
That was
No,
terrible.
listen. No, it's in your mouth. well, well,
No, you know how people say like, I'm gonna get my mouth's getting pregnant because
yeah.
something tastes so good.
I'm
This
going
will
to
make
lead
your
with
mouth pregnant. This will make your mouth pregnant.
that. Impregnate your taste
I know
buds.
that. Well, there's a nice pregnancy theme that I think is happening with both of these
Yep,
products.
that's a
I don't know
nice,
why I'm just going straight to
nice callback.
sex.
But did you have a feeling like I guess enjoyment or like
Well, I think it's indulgence. I think
indulgence?
it's
Okay.
indulgence, and I think it's yeah. I mean, when you eat something, I mean,
Listen,
this sounds expert.
you were coming across very intense,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
which is good because
yeah,
it's like you as long as you're connected to something, they're going to listen, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's really important to get that emotion. Now, what was missing in the beginning, as in a lot of people, the story. This reminds me of a time I had the
yeah,
spiciest habanero pepper at
yeah.
El Principal on 34th and 5th. Whatever. Now I want you to actually tell the story of a time where something was indulgent. It doesn't have to just be the meal. It can be. It'll come to you. So I want to just Or just tell me, I know you're kind of a
Yeah, no, it's
foodie,
fine.
like tell me about a time that you ate something where it was like next level. I know what you mean. It's
Yeah.
almost to the point where it's awkward, like you want to keep talking about it and you're like, I don't want to keep talking about food for sounds like I'm just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or it gets orgasmic, kind of it goes sexual real quick.
Well, tell us a story about a time where you like a meal, like you could just totally paint the picture. I know you've been to some lavish places in New York, I'm sure, where next level
Well, I
experience.
will say this. I think recently, and this is just personally, I think that I've I think this happened over pandemic. I think we all, kind of cook at home. We're home bartenders. Like we're not going out. And you spend a $200 meal is one thing, and it's pretty good. But I think cooking yourself and learning the art of cuisine and the art of cooking, you can create those kinds of flavor notes and textures and the consistency. I mean, I'm not, talking shit about any chefs because it takes years in culinary school. But I think if you take a little bit of time, a little research, you can kind of recreate those feelings. I think if you, it's the right moments. So when I think of a story, I think of it, for myself. When I have the time, what I do recently is like, when the kid goes down to
Here,
bed.
I'm gonna stop here. This one time I was cooking blank.
Okay, got you. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I know it's tricky and
no,
it's
I know
like
it's just yeah, I kind of
it takes
rambled
a
on.
little while to plug into
So
something, but I think if you just go this one time I was cooking.
I will say this. So this one time I was cooking, and when you have a toddler, you don't have time to really cook. But I really look forward to these moments where our child is down for the night, and I have the whole kitchen to myself. I'm like, hey, hun, I'm not going to eat dinner with the family. I'm going to save this for after he goes to bed, so I can really concentrate on how I'm making this meal. And I had researched, how to do this process of this steak, and I think it was called reverse sear. I think
Nice.
it's in a butter bath of garlic, and you're getting all those flavors, and then you have to quickly, put it on a flame, and it just chars it. It's restaurant. You talk about like a Ruth Chris or what's the place in New York that Peter Luger or something. If I could, I would win if I could recreate that succulent, like just indulgent, orgasmic taste of steak. And I was able to do it because I put in the time and research, and I felt so great about it. Now, again, it's a focus group of one. It's me, but I've tasted a lot of steaks, and I said, hey, um, I want to do this again. I don't want to go to the steakhouse. I want to spend time really, and I started to get really passionate about the art of cooking. This happened to be a steak,
And that's why truff.
and that's why I try. I like the whole, and this is why truff.
But if you can stay, yeah, I know it's weird, but if you can stay in like, and that's why it's you don't
Yeah,
need something like wouldn't even need truff because I created, you know
that's
what I
true.
mean?
And I think when you add those flavor notes, it's a perfect partner to that kind of cooking because this is actually a finishing oil. So I think what it does is, it elevates it even more. It complements great cooking and adds those flavor notes that are going to just kind of enhance what you've already done. I
Yeah,
think that.
dude, you had me at reverse sear because I'll tell you why. Details, man. Details,
Details,
details.
yeah,
I want
details.
to know what kind of steak. I want to know what kind of cut. I want to know what's going on
That's
in your
true.
kitchen. If
Yeah.
you go there, we go there with you, and that's one level deeper into the story we're going. Now I can picture Ron's island. Like I'm sure you have a cool setup. Like take us to that setup.
Yeah.
Yes, be mindful of time that you're not going on and on too long, but you
Mhm.
know it. You know when there's just enough detail. So when you said reverse sear, I'm not sure what it is, but that makes me think that you have done your research. You
Yeah.
can prove to us that you're an expert by just not dropping those things like reverse sear, like using that as if you are an expert. And so, yeah, what I would say to that is like your emotion was there. You definitely seem like you slowed down from, you know what I mean? I know you said one of the things was sometimes you talk too fast or you feel a little
Yeah.
anxious. Did that breathing help help at all? Like to do those breaths?
It really does. I think it does, but I think something more important you said earlier was breathe in between. Like if you're talking to a room, you can kind of, and this is something that I've realized, and you can probably tell me and add on to this more, is that you really internally to yourself, it feels like you're taking forever, or there's a stall, or there's awkward pregnant pauses, but they're really in reality they're not. Like it's perfectly paced, and people aren't gonna shoot you for letting 2 seconds of air just go. And so I think I've learned that is kind of have to we step outside yourself, or really observe other presenters to know that it's okay to kind of your slow version is probably an okay paced version. You just feel like you're going super slow.
Oh yeah, I've been speaking slow my whole life, and I've always felt like, you know, I need to speed up a little bit, but I just don't work that. I just don't operate that way. So my dad always used to say, "Slow and steady, slow."
Yeah, yeah.
But I was like, all right, slow and steady it is. But yeah, whatever works for you. And like, I think if I were to say like what the takeaways were, like you had some great emotional moments there that you allowed yourself to be emotional, and like if you are in a presentation, it depends what it is. It could be you could be interviewing, and like the interview is like really
Interviews.
important, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you struggle with interviews a little bit?
Um, yeah, I hate interviews just because it is an interview. Like I'm a casual guy, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably like depends on who you're interviewing with, but what happens is I know I have all the ammunition and all the things I'm supposed to say like locked and loaded in my head. It will never come out organized in the way it should, and I do it real time. I think I know the answer to this. I know how to answer it perfectly, but I'm not going to do it right now in front of you.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how it goes.
Do you ever rehearse?
A little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'll do? I'll write it. I'll kind of start a Word doc, and I'll just start writing. Um, I do this with presentations or speeches too. That I don't want to have any reference or cue cards or notes. I just because it's when I write things down, it's visually seen in my head. I remember it, and then I can kind of from memory, and I do it more naturally because it's just there. But yeah, rehearsing is a tricky thing. It's how they say you never want to rehearse too much, or but you don't want to wing it. So it's a balance, right?
Yeah. Sometimes a nice outline, if you can see that outlined in your mind, just like the three things you want to make sure you get across.
Yeah,
But, you get to like you said, everything you want to say. Just have to allow yourself to do it and make it feel authentic. And like you can totally speak from the heart in an interview. I think a lot of people feel like you have to answer the right questions and
yeah.
answer
You have to be
like,
right. Yeah,
yeah, there's the right, like if you answer it a certain way, then it is right. And if they don't like it, then that's right too, meaning it's probably not a fit, even though like we're like, well, I need a job, you know,
yeah.
but still, you know what I mean? Better to avoid dodge a bullet by being authentic. Like the more authentic you are in the interview, the better you're going to be down the road.
100%.
You know what I
I'm a
mean?
big believer in that because what you see is or what you hear is what you get. I mean, how it's kind of that's the I say first impressions is important. Yeah, I think it's true. Yeah,
I I tend to spill my guts a little bit in interviews, and it's just like you asked for it, Like I
yeah.
just yeah, I tell people like my style, and I try to give stories and all that stuff. But like yeah, interviews I actually enjoy them, which
You're
seems
a
like
sick man. You're a sick person then. No,
well, right. It seems like something strange because and that's exactly why I want to do this is because the years, and I was a shy kid, I would say from like my earliest memories to like 10 or 12. But once I figured out there was a way to like inject humor and use my voice, whatever, um, it's not so bad. But
yeah,
listen, I
it's something I
still,
admire and something I've learned about you, Kent, from being a partner and being working with you and knowing you. You have a career as a stand-up comic, an actor. You're a presentation coach, the voice crafter. I've, because I've worked with you on both sides, I've seen both sides, and I think it's a switch. Like, like performers or somebody on stage or someone who has to do it. Um, you're great at it. Like, so I think it's like when I said you're a sick person, that's what I meant. I think you're really, really good at it, and that you kind of you live for those moments to, like you said, it's your show. It's Kent's, it's Ron's story.
Yeah.
Everybody's circling around to hear you.
Dude, you don't get those opportunities much in life, you know?
Yeah.
Like, why not? See what you don't know what's going to come of it. And you know when there's a good. Have you ever done a presentation and like later people come up to you and be like, "Oh, that was great," or like those little side moments where someone said, "I
Oh,
really like
it
what
was
you
the
said."
best.
Yeah,
I
it
think
makes
the
you
one
feel good.
presentation I was telling you about with that local client recently that went well, and things are firing now because what happened was I was very emotional and I told a story before we got to the thing, but then I got the compliments later and it felt so great and it just felt, what the key thing here is like the authenticity. Like there was no bullshitting at all about what that was, and they could take it or leave it, but they felt that, and I think in the room, and I think that's what made it special.
Yeah, totally, man. It's like, yeah, no BS. Just allow yourself to be a little vulnerable too, and just be a little open. Like people like that. Then they feel comfortable and they can be vulnerable and
That's
a
true. It's
little.
contagious. They kind of feed off that, right? Like yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's cool.
but well, cool, man. How did you feel all that? I know I took you on a little bit of an
No,
adventure.
it's great. I didn't know what to
Appreciate you.
expect. Yeah,
I want to say I appreciate you, sharing that story
no,
of your. Those are moments. I mean, I can relate because it's recent in my mind
exactly.
too.
Yeah.
Did I tell you my story? Just like either on the record or off. Either way, I'll let this thing record.
No,
Did I tell
please.
you when he was born?
I love it.
Well, I'm a big music guy. Like music is
Yeah.
going at all times when I'm around doing stuff. And I asked the doctor if I could bring in a playlist, and we had the baby playlist, and on there was some Bob Marley, Three Little Birds, was a bunch of other stuff. I can't remember right now, but one of the second song on there was Joe Walsh's "Life's Been Good to Me So Far." My Maserati drives 185.
Yeah.
Na, 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 na.
Yeah. Great song.
In case I'm alive. Life's been good to me so far is the chorus. And the irony is that when that song started, Charlie was being born and he was lifted to the lyric, Life's been good to me
Oh wow.
so far. You couldn't
I mean,
script
yeah,
that. I mean, that's a beginning of a TV show,
that's right. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's right.
And maybe I'll use it someday. But like, yeah, those kind of things, those are the most unique. Nobody else in the world I doubt, was being born to Life's Been Good to Me So Far. So, like, these
Oh,
are
man.
your unique stories. Whatever details you can use so that you're memorable. It's all about being memorable. How are we going to stand out in this world so that we can get across our ideas, so that we can do the things we want to do in our careers?
Yep.
So,
Awesome, man. Yeah, I appreciate this. I do love the details. That's something that I'm going to take away from this too. Because now that I hear you saying that, like I recall a lot of times where people have presented to me, and I've been in presentations, and it is you get caught up. You get caught up. It's not like you're in a business meeting or something else. You're just being real, and that's when you're really listening. And I think
you
it's like you're connecting.
yeah, as a listener, as an audience member, if you are drifting, it's often on the presenter.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just like, but like reverse serum, just give them the reverse serum. But like if you can remember what's interesting about that. It's not a steak, it's a T-bone. It's
Right.
filet mignon. It's not a red wine. It's a 1999 Malbec from Argentina. Like that
It helps. Yeah.
that, that
I'm listening now. I
that
want to know
Lee
more
Clow gave me upon winning a gold Clio
about.
for Skittles. Touch the rainbow. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. Like what? I'm learning so much about this guy. He just told me that he knows one of the greatest that he met one of the he met this guy, he won this award, he worked on Skittles. Not that those
That
are
is true.
true.
Yeah, I want to know more about that actual. It's a little bit. You start fanboying them a little bit. You're kind of like, wow, you're an interesting person. Like I'm going to listen to whatever you say. You
Well,
know, and
you can tell like if I said that, you could tell somebody three things about yourself without saying, "I know Lee Clow. I won a Clio for Skittles Touch the Rainbow." None of those are true, but like if they were,
yeah.
all stemming from the time that he gave me a Malbec, a bottle of Malbec. But listen, we're all like some people think they're not interesting. Like everybody's interesting because it's just the unique thing is happening to you.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's right. Everybody, yeah, it's the kind of tapping into that, and it's totally true. Everybody does have an interesting aspect to them.
so cool, man. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I like to keep it like it seemed like it was about 40 minutes. I hope you got
Great.
something out of it. I hope
Yeah,
you can apply some of the B's, just the body, emotion, expert, and story.
totally, absolutely.
And
Yeah, I appreciate this.
always start with the breath. And and that's pretty much it. So voice crafters out there, you can do it. It's not nothing bad is ever going to happen to you when you get up in front of people. And I think that's like the biggest thing that's scary. And it's really an interesting psychology. So if I can help you overcome it, boom, I'm here. Voice Crafter. We'll have another episode coming up soon. If you want one-on-ones, go to kent.koren@gmail.com. Don't go there. Email me at kent.koren, Koren @gmail.com. And we'll have another Voice Crafter episode coming up soon. Thanks for
Yeah.
being here, Ron, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
And, and scene.
That was great, man. That was awesome. There's so much good stuff